Hello everyone, I'm Morgan, and today I wanted to talk to you about 4 new releases I've read recently and whether these are worth the read. So as usual, I'm going to go from the one I like the least to the one I like the most. So the first one I have to talk about is Second Sister by Ho-Kei. This is translated from the Chinese by Jeremy Tiang, and this was interesting but also had me torn. So this follows a girl, well, she's about 20 years old, maybe a bit older, and her sister kills herself at the beginning of the book, so it's really impactful. And it's basically a thriller because so she wants to find out why her sister killed herself, and it's all about that. So she goes to this inspector, and he doesn't really want to help her, but he tells him about this guy who is a hacker and can maybe help her find out why her sister killed herself. And so she goes to see this guy. He lives in this shabby apartment, but he seems to have a lot of money, and he decides to help her. And they find a lot of things out about all of this, how her sister was hiding so many things from her, and it's very interesting. And I wanted to know what would happen, like it was a thriller, it was fine. But the problem with this is that so there was a lot of technology involved in finding out everything, and so the main character seemed to know almost nothing about technology, so everything was explained in extreme detail. Like, she didn't even know what Wi-Fi was at the beginning of the book. Like, I know she lives in China, and I've never been there, but I think they even know what Wi-Fi is, don't they? So I was just very frustrated by some of the explanation. I was like, who cares? And there was a lot of them all throughout. But besides that, like, I enjoyed the book. I think it was an interesting ride, but it was a bit too long. And you had like this big twist around, I don't know, 2/3 of the book, and you seem to think that everything was going to end, but then it doesn't because there is a huge twist, and that was well done. But I think it could have been shorter before that, and I don't know, it was trying to be really clever, and I don't know if it was completely. I'm not sure what I think about this book. Honestly, I've already started to forget it, so that's not a good sign. But still, it wasn't a horrible read. I did finish it, and I liked the ending, so there's that. The next book I want to talk about is Hollow by Rhonda Parrish. This one I enjoyed quite a bit, but I'm also starting to forget it, so I don't really know how I feel about this. This is about a girl who goes into this abandoned hospital one morning when she can sleep, and she finds this camera that she takes home, a Polaroid camera that can take instant photos. And whenever she takes a photo of someone, they seem to change after. Like, they become all mean, and she's starting to wonder why that is. Is that supernatural and everything? And I read this book in one day. I thought it was fun, like, kind of creepy at some points and very fast paced. It's YA, it's nice to read, but ultimately there's not much to it. Like, it's very fast and okay, but I mean, there's also another part of the book that I haven't talked. There's also another part that I haven't talked about because our main character has had one of her family members die a few months before the book starts, and so people are still talking about that incident. And her mother is in a wheelchair, and she has a little sister that she's trying to be nice with, but it's not always easy. Like, there are a lot of things that I liked about this book. It's just that ultimately I think it's pretty forgettable, and that's the problem. And the last two books I want to talk about, I both adored. So the first one is The Hidden Girl and Other Stories by Ken Liu. I got this one as an arc from Negali, as pretty much all of the books I am talking about in this video besides the last one. But I still got myself a copy because I loved it so much. This is a short story collection about science fiction and fantasy, and it's amazing. There are so many different stories talking about technology, space travel, and so many other things, climate change, and some are more like science fiction and feel like Black Mirror episodes, and some are more fantasy, and it's just, I loved almost every single one of these stories. It made me think so much. They were just, there's great ideas in this, and I love Ken Liu's writing as well. I thought it was beautiful, and I really want to read more by him, and just more science fiction and fantasy short stories, because I think that's really my thing. Because you can go into an idea fully, but in a few pages, it's not the same as a novel, of course, and that's the whole point of short stories. So I'm just finding that I really like that. And my favorite stories of the book were Maxwell's Demon, Dispatches from the Cradle, The Hermit, 48 Hours in the Sea of Massachusetts, Grey Rabbit, Crimson Mare, Cold Leopard, and A Chase Beyond the Storms. But I will put them in the description if you want. Those are my favorite, but I loved almost every single one. And the last book I wanted to talk about is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. I am so happy to say I loved this book so much. I was kind of apprehensive because I loved Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel like so many other people. And obviously this book is not post-apocalyptic, so I knew it wouldn't be the same thing. But it had a lot of the things that I liked about Emily St. John Mandel's writing. Particularly, she writes in a non-linear way all of the time, and I love that so much, and that was the same in this one. We follow a few different characters, but it's mostly about this woman, Vincent, that we see first when she's young at the beginning of the book, and the book just changes timelines so much, but it works really well because it shows you different parts of the story that go together. It's about this Ponzi scheme because Vincent marries this man who is scamming people, but that's not the whole of the book. It's also about her and ghosts in a way, because a lot of the characters think they're seeing ghosts. I don't really know how to talk about this book, honestly, because there are so many things in it. So it's about Vincent, but it's also about some other characters. Paul, her brother, who is struggling to find meaning in his life. Vincent, who wants to have power, but she doesn't really know what to do with her life sometimes. And I don't know, I love this book so much. I was not bored at all throughout it. As I said, it kept changing timelines, but it made so much sense, and parts of it were set in Canada, and they were beautiful. I loved the setting, and parts of it were in Manhattan, and I also loved those. I thought it was very immersive, and I loved that, and it was also very atmospheric. Just the best book to fall into, I guess. And I don't really know anymore what to say. I loved it. I thought it was great. This deals with class, with struggling to be rich, but also struggling to be poor. Does it matter to have money? All that kind of things that were also in Station 11, but were not as important, I guess, as they are in this one. And I don't know, it just had a lot of ideas that I was really interested in. Also, it's about the Ponzi scheme that happens in it, and her husband who gets caught. But he's not really her husband. There's a whole story about that, and how Vincent is trying to live her life. And actually, they're all trying to live their lives in this book. We follow a bunch of different characters, and it's about what they are going through personally and trying to go through life, I guess. It's just fascinating, and I loved it. And I will continue reading books by Emily St. John Mandel. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching. Please tell me if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you want to read them after hearing me talk about them, as I would love to know. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching again. I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Dream I know, deep up my feet.